Hello folks and welcome to this week's Hi-Fi News etc, and I have for you this week some Hi-Fi news of course, and another hint tip thing, and before we do all of that, trivia. And in this particular video we are changing theme. We are looking at literature, and the question is this: which band named themselves after a spoiled brat in a book by Roald Dahl? One more time. Which band named themselves after a spoiled brat in a book by Roald Dahl? There's a poser for you. Hey, have a little think about this. No Googling or any of that, please. This is just a bit of fun. Have a little think. At the end of this video, I will give you the answer. Until then, Hi-Fi News. And we will start with speakers and Raidho. I think it's, is it Raidho? I think it is Raidho. Anyway, the X 2.6 floor standing speakers, new in the company's X series, is the X 2.6. They utilize a hand-built ribbon tweeter system from the super duper expensive TD6 speakers, £230,000 I think they are. It is a planar magnetic tweeter due to the tracks in the foil, and that foil is 11 microns thick, which means it is 50 times less mass in comparison to a conventional dome tweeter. Don't let the cat get at it. The bottom of the base unit membrane is an aluminium cone, and to eliminate ringing, that driver is coated with a thin layer of ceramic. High-strength neodymium magnets are also used as well. The crossover for the speakers is created with point-to-point wiring, and that wiring is supplied by Nordost. The speakers themselves do not rest on spikes, but decoupled feet. The speaker itself stands on ceramic balls, which are not visible from the outside. Would you guess expensive? Well, you'd be right. €21,000. And if you want to know more, I'll put a link below downstairs. Next, we have a bit of Spotify news, I think. Now, Spotify promised a lossless streaming service a while ago. It's become a bit of a running joke actually because of these delays, because the announcement, I think it was called Spotify HiFi, wasn't it? That was back in 2021. And after that announcement, well, the company has delayed the release. So 3 years later or more, there are thoughts that the service might be close to release now. Nothing definite, nothing formal. Well, okay, there's a sneaky look on Reddit. So yeah, it's another rumor. But there have been some UI screenshot leaks as well as a few details. For example, the word is that the service will support 24-bit 44.1 kHz as a FLAC. One notable feature revealed in the leaked UI elements is a compatibility checker. So this is a sort of a tool which automatically tells you if your device or connection type or bandwidth is really up to it. So this will prevent issues, and it's a useful addition. I like the sound of that. Oh, and there's a new name apparently. No longer Spotify HiFi. From what I hear, and it's taken 3 years, but Spotify has decided that this lossless service should be called lossless. So, some guy really earned his salary that day, hey? So how do you pay for all of this? Well, there is something called a Supremium plan, apparently, which kind of sounds expensive, doesn't it? Anyway, that's the plan that will apparently support this service. Prices are unknown right now, though. Maybe that's a good thing, hey? Next, we have Acoustics and the 3000C loudspeaker series. This new speaker series features the C3 continuous curved cone mid-bass driver design, first introduced in the 5000 series and also seen in the M40 powered micro tower speakers. According to the company, C3 combines the bass performance advantages of a traditional straight conic cone with the mid-range and high-end control of a flared cone. It also reportedly helps in room positioning terms because it's not quite as strict in that area. The 3000C family comprises of the 3010C bookshelf, the 3020C stand mount, the 3030C larger stand mount, the 3050C floor standers, and the 3090C center channel. The speakers, well, they feature a hermetically sealed tweeter, mechanically isolated from the baffle, low coloration cabinets with point-to-point bracing that minimizes vibration, the Helmholtz pressure equalizer tubes that Acoustic seem to use all over the place. They're there to disrupt standing waves. There are all kinds of options in terms of prices, and I'm going to put the whole thing in one go as a bit of a table on screen now. In terms of finishes, there are 4. First up, we have Pin Oak, which I've never heard of before. Claro Walnut, have I heard of that? I'm not sure I have. Plus Satin White, which is more familiar, and Satin Black. Next up, we have NAD. NAD has announced the launch of its new Classic Series amplifier, specifically the C379 Hybrid Digital DAC amplifier, which features a Class D output stage plus an ESS Sabre ES9028 DAC, and the second generation of MDC technology for upgrades and expandability. That includes Blue OS high-res multi-room streaming, Dirac, is it Dirac or Dirac? I think it's Dirac live room correction. The available MDC2 Blue OS D module further allows integration with Blue OS, Apple AirPlay 2, and the two-way aptX HD Bluetooth. In power terms, this new amp delivers 80 watts of power into 8 ohms, and it can be bridged with the C68 stereo power amp in a balanced configuration to push out 300 watts of power. Now, there's all kinds of additional connectivity options, as you might expect. aptX HD Bluetooth is one of them. HDMI eARC is another. You get a moving magnet phono stage, 2 independent subwoofer outputs, and a lot more. C379 will be available at the end of June this year, 2024. Prices? Well, I've got 3. Either $1,099, £899, or €1,199. That's your Hi-Fi news. Let's do a hint, a tip. Now, I've been talking about upgrading over the past couple of weeks, and I'm going to carry on doing that. For most people, upgrading means changing main components. The big stuff, amplifiers, speakers, a source component maybe, like a streamer, turntable, CD player. The shiny stuff, things with power switches, lots of flashing lights, that kind of thing. This week I'm playing the role of Mr. Responsible, and I want you to rein in a bit. I want you to look around your hi-fi before you grab the next big aluminium chunk of metal. I want you to pause before you flash the cash. Principally, what I want you to do is get the most out of what you already have before you rush ahead and buy another big box. I'm talking about accessories here. Now, there are some hi-fi users out there that are very good, and they are buying lots of supporting accessories, and they're hearing the benefits. So I'm not really talking to you folks because you're already doing good works. Now, there are some hi-fi users out there, well, they deride these bits and pieces, but really, without them, chances are that your current hi-fi is only outputting about, what, 60 to 70% of its sonic potential. And for this hint tip, I'm focusing on either raw beginners or those more experienced hi-fi users out there who either ignore accessories or are terribly impatient with the whole accessory thing, and they just bypass them entirely. And for those particular individuals, in case the notion of scooping up a ton of necessary accessories scares your bank balance to bits, I'll keep it simple, I'll keep it cheap. Well, as cheap as possible. So what sorts of accessories am I talking about? Well, there's a lot to consider, and yes, accessories can suck out a whole lot of money from your bank account, but even if you just get the basics, something to get you started, accessories that do the bare minimum, then your system will thank you for it. Most importantly then, where do we start? Well, stands and shelving, some form of, well, I was going to say specialist isolation shelving unit, but just a shelving unit that does the job, the basics would be good. Good value for money in a specialist area is Atacama. They produce good value for money shelving systems. If you go on the Atacama site, they're lowish cost, maybe relatively more expensive than some deals I've seen on the internet. I've seen a few hi-fi dealers doing 1 or 2 sales of Atacama products, and I've seen some decent shelving systems for around £150. But what if 150 is too much? What if you don't have that cash? Well, a light yet sturdy table or shelving unit from IKEA would be a start. There is a simple, very, very basic table called the LACK, L-A-C-K, I think it's called. Now that would be useful for a turntable, and that is priced at, I think it's under £20 if you have the space. And if you do have the space, get another turntable, put an amplifier on it, and that will again be okay, because it isolates the product away from anything else, and vibration from those particular components, and those components will produce vibration, they have a chance to escape. You want to dump vibration from your hi-fi. You want to get rid of it quickly, as soon as possible. So these IKEA tables, sure, they're not ideal, they're not the best, but it's a start. So as I say, you're looking for something that's not going to store vibration in the actual unit itself, because that will cause damaging microphony. So one of the evil pieces of furniture that I know of are the heavy coffee tables, those big hulking things that look like a tank. Dense, heavy, large structures. Vibration gets dumped into it. Vibration just moves around in a loop around this heavy, dense structure, doesn't drain, just keeps going around in a circle, and it's terrible for masking detail and causing edgy mids and all that rubbish. So you want a light yet stiff structure. That's the way to go. On a similar subject, please invest in a pair of speaker stands. Now, Atacama again, sell these for around £130 or so. I'm sure you could find cheaper if you shopped around. Again, sturdy, stiff and solid are good. You don't really want stands that flop around in the wind, but mainly just get those speakers off the ground. Otherwise, bass will be flabby and boomy. So even bendy speaker stands are better than nothing. Also, lifting your speakers towards ear level will also help you to hear fine detail in the mids and the treble. Good quality cables is another one. Despite the derision you see all all over the internet. They are important. Bad cables can make your hi-fi sound bright, all on their own. If you put kettle leads as your mains cable and bell wire as your interconnects and speaker cables, then you will hear your hi-fi screech. It's not nice, it's not clever. Again, why? Because these cables are packed full of high-frequency noise and vibration and microphony. The cheapest QED cables you can find on Amazon, that's a good start. 79 strand speaker cabling. That's where I began in hi-fi. You can pick that up from Amazon. I think you can get 10 meters of that stuff for under £20, I think. Interconnects, you can get decent QED interconnects, 2-meter pairs for £20. And because of vibration and all that nasty stuff, please try to isolate your hi-fi components. Even if they are on a decent shelving system, the more isolation, the better. Cheapo Sorbethane fruit pastels, well, they look like little black fruit pastels. They're good for starters, and you can find around, I think it's £15 for, is it 4 or even 8 of these little Sorbethane feet. You can find them all over eBay. Have a little shop. Now, even if you don't go any further than that, even if you stop right there after those basic improvements, the improvements in sound terms from your hi-fi will be notable and will hopefully even encourage you to go further and improve the accessories you already have. And that's it, folks. Thank you very much for staying to the end of this video. Now, before I say goodbye, we need an answer to that trivia question. And the question is, which band named themselves after a spoiled brat in a book by Roald Dahl? And the answer is Veruca Salt. Veruca Salt are an American alternative rock band formed in 1992. The original Veruca Salt was a character in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, the heiress to the salt nut fortune, who was evidently being spoiled by her wealthy parents. So now you know. Thank you again for staying to the end of this video, and thank you very much for all of your support. It is much appreciated. I'll be back this time next week with another one of these, and I hope to have your company then. Until then, folks, bye-bye for now.